So here's the thing. Learning a new language doesn't mean you have to learn every single grammar rule, but it helps to understand how the language works, the basic structure, and how it's different from or similar to the languages you already speak. Hallo, I'm Lari from Deutsch mit Lari. I'm a native German teacher, and on this channel I usually teach German in German through vlogs, little stories, and lots of comprehensible input to make learning easy and fun, like die Tasse. Das ist eine Tasse und in der Tasse habe ich Kaffee. But today it's a bit different because this time I'm going to speak English. Why? Because I want you to follow along without missing anything. I want to give you a clear overview of German grammar. Not every tiny rule, but the important stuff. The stuff that actually helps you understand German when you see or hear it. By the end of the video, you'll start noticing patterns in German, like in my regular German-only videos. You'll be thinking, oh, I know that. And that's the whole point of this German crash course. To take you from, wait, why did she say dem instead of der, to, dem. Also, los geht's. Think in chunks, not in single words. German and English don't always match word for word. And if you try to force it, well, it can get messy. For example, in German you say, ich habe Hunger. Literally it's, I have hunger. But in English we naturally say, I'm hungry. And of course, you could say, ich bin hungrig, which literally matches I am hungry. But most Germans almost always say, ich habe Hunger in everyday speech. And that's the point, because German sometimes uses different patterns to express the same idea. And that's why it's better to learn in chunks and not in single words. So don't fight the pattern. Learn chunks as complete phrases. And here are some frequently used chunks you might know already, or you can learn right now. Because we don't say viel Dank. We learn vielen Dank for thank you very much. So vielen Dank. Vielen Dank. Another one is wie geht's? How are you? Wie geht's? Wie geht's dir? And the answer to this one could be mir geht's da da da. Mir geht's gut. Mir geht's schlecht. Mir geht's ganz okay. So I'm fine, I'm bad, I'm quite okay. Even though if a German says mir geht's ganz okay, it usually means I'm good, I'm great. Mir geht's ganz okay. Ich hätte gern. I would like. Perfect in cafes and restaurants. Like ich hätte gern. Ich hätte gern eine Tasse Kaffee bitte. Es gibt. There is or there are. Es gibt hier guten Kaffee. Es gibt. And then there is another tricky one. We don't say ich habe fertig for I'm done or I'm finished. We say ich bin fertig. Ich bin fertig damit. Then keine Ahnung. No idea. Keine Ahnung. Was meinst du? What do you mean? Was meinst du damit? Auf jeden Fall. Definitely. Auf jeden Fall. Mal sehen. We'll see. Mal sehen. So if you learn these as whole phrases without breaking them apart, you can already have little conversations in German, even as a beginner. Now, the second thing you really need to know, German has 3 genders for nouns. We have der for masculine, die for feminine, and das for neuter. And my biggest tip: always learn a noun with its article. So not just Tisch, but der Tisch. Why? Because the gender changes a lot of things later. It changes, for example, the adjectives. For instance, groß, big, becomes der große Hund, or die große Katze, or das große Haus. It also changes pronouns. For example, der Hund ist er, die Katze ist sie und das Haus ist es. And of course, it changes in the cases. But let's talk about the German cases a bit later, okay? The good thing is, there are some quick rules, about 80% accurate. Because as we know in German, nothing is ever 100% certain, right? But honestly, these rules give you such a great overview, especially if you're one of those learners who often find themselves thinking, wait, why on earth is Mädchen, so girl, using das, not die, since it's a female person? But let's start with der. That's the masculine direct article, and ein is the masculine indirect article. We use it for male people and professions, like der Mann, the man, der Mann, and ein Mann, a man. Or der Lehrer, the male teacher, or ein Lehrer, a male teacher. Der is also used for the days of the week, like der Montag, der Dienstag. Also for months, like der Januar, der Februar, and so on. And even for seasons, like der Sommer, der Winter. Alcohol is usually masculine too, except das Bier for some reason. So you'd say der Wein, der Schnaps, der Rum. Directions are also masculine, like der Westen, der Süden. And names of cars and trains, like der VW, der Audi, or der ICE. And then there are some word endings that are almost always masculine, like Ent, like der Student, Ling, like der Schmetterling, Ich, like der Teppich, Ich, like der Honig, pronounced ich, so der Honig, and of course like der Lehrer. And the ending ismus, like der Buddhismus. And now die. That's the feminine direct article. The indirect article is eine. We use it for female people and professions, like die Frau, eine Frau, or die Lehrerin, eine Lehrerin. Numbers are feminine too, like die 1, die 2, die 3, and there are some really reliable endings here, like Schaft, die Mannschaft, Heit and Kite, like die Freiheit or die Freundlichkeit, Tät, like die Qualität, Ans, like die Toleranz, Ion, like die Religion, I, like die Biologie, and like die Regierung. Oh, and there's a nice one. Most flowers and tree names are feminine too, like die Rose, die Tanne, or these ones here, die Sonnenblume. And academic disciplines are feminine too, like die Physik, die Chemie, or die Mathematik. And finally, das. Das is the neuter direct article, and ein is the neuter indirect article. This one covers the diminutives, words ending in chen or lein, like das Mädchen, ein Mädchen, or das Männlein, ein Männlein. And yes, Mädchen actually comes from the word Magd, which refers to a young unmarried woman or girl who often worked on the countryside, which is feminine, die Magd, but the ending chen makes it neuter, but it also shows up with endings like wie like das Studium, and ment, das Argument. Languages are neuter too, like das Deutsch, das Englisch, and colors as well, like das Rot, das Blau, das Grün. One more. When you turn a verb into a noun, it's usually neuter too, like ich esse, but das Essen schmeckt gut. So yeah, it's not 100% foolproof, but if you keep these patterns in mind, you'll guess the right article way more often. Now, since we just talked about der, die, das, let's talk about cases. German has 4 of them. They show what role a word plays in a sentence. We have the nominative case for the subject. As an example, der Hund schläft, so the dog is sleeping. We have the accusative case for the direct object. As an example, ich sehe den Hund. I see the dog. And the dative case for the indirect object, like ich gebe dem Hund einen Ball. I give the dog a ball. And the genitive for possessions, like das ist der Ball des Hundes. This is the dog's ball. This one is rare in spoken German, so here's a very useful tip for you. In everyday speaking, focus first on the nominative case and the accusative case. You'll hear the dative a lot and it will click naturally later. And here I have an overview for you. Maskulin der Mann. Nominativ, der Mann schläft. Akkusativ, ich sehe den Mann. Dativ, ich gebe dem Mann ein Buch. Und Genitiv, das ist das Auto des Mannes. Feminin, die. Nominativ, die Frau schläft. Akkusativ, ich sehe die Frau. Dativ, ich gebe der Frau ein Buch. Und Genitiv, das ist das Auto der Frau. Neutrum, das Kind. Nominativ, das Kind schläft. Akkusativ, ich sehe das Kind. Dativ, ich gebe dem Kind ein Buch. Genitiv, das ist das Auto des Kindes. That's your overview, but please don't try to memorize everything at once. Just start noticing how the article changes. Next up, word order. German word order looks quite flexible, but it isn't completely free. In a main sentence, the verb is always in the second position. Heute gehe ich ins Kino. Or ich gehe heute ins Kino. Or ins Kino gehe ich heute. Different order, but the verb always stays second. In yes and no questions and commands, the verb comes first. For example, gehst du heute ins Kino? Or komm mit ins Kino. And in subordinate clauses, the verb goes right to the end. Like in a weil-Satz, in a weil sentence. Ich habe heute keine Zeit, weil ich ins Kino gehe. And now let's talk about verbs themselves. We have regular verbs, regelmäßige Verben, that follow a nice predictable pattern, like lernen, to learn. Ich lerne, du lernst, er, sie, es lernt, wir lernen, ihr lernt und sie lernen. Or schreiben, to write. Ich schreibe, du schreibst, er, sie, es schreibt, wir schreiben, ihr schreibt, sie schreiben. And then we have irregular verbs, unregelmäßige Verben. They like to change their vowels in the du and er, sie, es form. For example, fahren, to drive. Ich fahre, but du fährst und er, sie, es fährt. Or lesen. Ich lese, but you, du liest. Er, sie, es liest. You don't need to memorize every single form right now. Just learn to recognize them when you hear them. And for past tense, yes, many of our past tense verbs are irregular too. But it's better to pick them up naturally by reading and listening to short stories and not trying to memorize endless verb lists. And another thing German loves are compound words. Two or more words stuck together to make something new. And here's the trick. The last word usually tells you the main meaning and the article. And here are some examples. Der Bilderrahmen, das Bild, the picture, and der Rahmen, frame, a picture frame. Also der Bilderrahmen. Das Handtuch, die Hand, the hand, das Tuch, a cloth, a towel, ein Handtuch. In my opinion, that's something that makes learning German real fun. But what do you think? Do you find compound nouns and compound words fun or annoying? Let me know in the comments below. And a quick note on capitalization and pronunciation. In German, all nouns are capitalized. Sounds may be a bit annoying, but it makes reading much easier. And here, just a small input on pronunciation. After front vowels, so sounds where your tongue is pushed forward in the mouth, like in ich, it's pronounced as a h. And after back vowels, so sounds where your tongue is pulled backward in the mouth, like in Buch, you feel your tongue in the back of your mouth, Buch, it's so. And the German W, W, sounds like the English V, like Wasser, Wasser. And if you struggle with making the German R sound in the throat, here's the trick. Take a tiny sip of water, lean your head back slightly and gargle. This helps you feel where the sound is produced. And afterwards, practice the R sound with short words like rot or Brot. Tiny sip. Rot, rot, Brot, Brot. And let's quickly talk about umlaute, the umlauts. In German, we have 3 umlaute, ä, ö, ü. And these umlaute can change the word's meaning completely. Here is an example. Schon means already. Was ist es schon so spät? What is it already that late? But schön OÖ, schön, means beautiful. So keep that in mind when reading out loud or talking to someone. Now, here's the good news. You already know much more German than you think. Many English words come from German or share roots, like die Mutter, mother, das Haus, house, der Apfel, apple, trinken, to drink, and der Winter, winter. So when you see familiar words, just use them. It's basically free vocabulary. And finally, mistakes. Let's talk quickly about making mistakes when learning German. First of all, they're normal. Second, they're not proof that you're bad at German. They're actually proof that you are learning. Your goal is to be understood. And grammar details will improve the more you speak, listen, and read. And that's it. Now you can go watch my German vlogs and stories and see how many of these patterns you can spot. And if you ever feel lost, just come back to this video. It's for you. Ich bin Lari, viel Spaß beim Deutschlernen und bis zum nächsten Video. Dann wieder, wie gewohnt, auf Deutsch. Tschüss!